Welcome to the Huskers Podcast. Oh, yeah!
What is up, everybody? It is Monday night. First time we've done a Monday show when it is fresh off of a devastating loss to Ohio State, but lots of promise, lots of good stuff. It's a Monday night. I'm here with, as always, with my brother, Andrew. Andrew, how are you on a Monday night?
Yeah, a little. I was out of town this last week. A little 8-hour road trip back home. I'm in a little bit of a daze. I flipped time zones. Still been in a daze from the game itself. I mean, God, what an absolute whirlwind. But I'm ready to roll. Let's do this.
Ready. Okay. Before we kick off, let's talk a little bit about a word from our sponsors. And we got some good stuff to talk about. So go ahead and hit that next one. First off, as always, we are brought to you by pipeline-jerky.com. First word, please be nice to us. We're doing the best we can. We're trying to create a NIL business. Every single bag of jerky that you purchase from pipeline-jerky.com goes directly to the offensive line. It's been a tough couple weeks for the O-line. We heard about it on Twitter. We've had like a mutiny against the company, but I promise you, I'm not actually playing on the offensive line. I'm just trying to improve the offensive line, get back to Pipeline. So we've had a tough couple weeks, but pipeline-jerky.com, get some jerky. It's good. Pork version, the beef, get some peppercorn and stop, yelling us on the line because we're doing the best we can. Pipeline-jerky.com. Next slide, please. HuskersStore.com. We got some really good stuff coming. We're officially going to be starting to sell licensed material, which we're very licensed gear of the Huskers, which we're very excited about. Coming up very, very soon. We'll be getting those live this week. So you're talking about officially licensed Huskers gear as well as Huskers officially approved stuff. We've been kind of fighting on the edge of some licensing stuff. We're working on it. We're kind of coming back just in time for Christmas and the end of the season. So HuskersStore.com. Check it out. Some big announcements coming there. Next slide. Yeah, we got some more stuff coming for Christmas time for Pipeline Jerky, as brought to you by Omaha Steaks. We'll do a little bit more of a bigger push towards Christmas time as soon as those boxes are coming out for your parents. But parents, mom, dad, friends, brothers, sisters. Next slide. A new partnership to announce. We've got an exciting new partnership with Underdog Fantasy. So for every new player that goes Underdog Fantasy and uses promo code HuskGuys, you get a 50% deposit match. So if you put $2,000 in, you'll get $1,000 back. If you put $100 in, you get $50 back. And Andrew and I are huge fans of Underdog. We've tried a lot of different platforms. It's an awesome platform because it's got college football, Husker stuff on it. We're going to go through a bunch of the numbers here, but it's got hires and lowers for, Rayola's stats, for Dowdell's stats, for Husker stats, for every team that we play. And so it's super fun. You can put together different type of bets, different deals, different drafts within the college football world. It's very easy to use interface and use HuskGuys code, get 50% match, have some fun with it. But yeah, I want to kick this show off. So let's go two more for me. One more. So, all right. We lost, obviously. And we actually didn't, Andrew and I we were off 2 weeks ago because we were both traveling with our families for fall break. And so we couldn't really get a show together, but also didn't want to put a show together because it was fresh off of the Indiana debacle, which was still to this day, like, one of the most shocking Nebraska performances I've probably ever seen. In the sense that I truly thought we were going to win. And I thought we were going to be, 6-2 heading into whatever it would have been. Yeah, 6-2 heading into or 6-1 heading into the Ohio State game. I was completely shocked by that. Everybody was. And I still am, especially after the Ohio State game. But what I realized was like the fan base itself was, one of the worst moods I'd ever seen all throughout the week. And granted, we're only talking about people who are online on the internet, but just a dark, dark place. I was there too. I was digging myself out. But by the end of the week, I was like, all right, enough of this. This is crazy. And this is, what the entire intention of the Huskers platform was built on was like, how do we bring some positive energy and some optimism back to this program? So in the middle of the week, I started like putting out, I honestly don't even know at this point how much of this I even believe anymore. Like this is the year. Like I'm trying to will it into existence. But I started like tweeting out stuff that was like, hey, I got a crazy thought. What would happen if we just played really well and everything comes together for four quarters and we beat Ohio State?
Yeah.
And I got crushed Just
Blasted.
like, if you could see it on their 130 comments, every single one of them was like, no chance, absolutely no chance. There's no chance. We're going to lose by 1,000. I'm not even watching. Nobody's going to play. This is impossible. No way, absolutely no way, over and over again. So I was like doubling down. On Thursday, I said, you can't shock the world if you don't believe. Today's the day everything comes together. Or that was my Saturday tweet. But I had like 4 or 5 of these in a row, and every one of them was getting massacred. We have no chance. I'm not even watching the game. This team stinks. Satterfield's the worst. Blah, 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 blah. So flash forward to the game itself. I was like so pumped because I finally like felt like I had willed something into existence. And I feel like the Husk guys are going to have like the greatest victory lap of all time to be like, I told you, we willed it into existence. Like, we're in this, we're going to win, and we're going to believe.
Yeah.
And then we lost. But at the same time, I felt a little bit of validation that like, I don't know, we did play. We did like all of the things that was like, what if we put together 4 quarters of football? We did. What if like I had one of the other tweets I put out was like, what if we just played the exact same way we played against Colorado, against Ohio State? I think we have a chance. And people are like, no, absolutely no. We blah, blah, we can't, no way. So like, I don't know. Like, I guess there was my opening of like, there was some positive energy that was happening. There's a ton of movement that was happening. And go to the next slide too. I guess, this is just some of my raw thoughts, which is like how I collect my thoughts. But like to battle back from getting blown out 56-7 to taking the number 4 team in the country to the wire, I was proud of the team, right? Like we're going to get into all of the other components of like, look, this program is cursed. The refereeing was like the worst I've ever seen. We got to talk. We're going to dive deep onto that. But the fact that like so many fans had quit on the team and the program of the season, and we're like, we're going to lose the rest of the games, and like we're not even going to show spark. To come with a freshman QB, go into the shoe, and shut them down. I mean, expectation wise, I thought we were going to lose 56-0. I really did. But then I was like, I don't know. What if we don't?
It almost had like it definitely had a Scott Frost era feeling where it was like, oh boy, another big game. This one is just, it's not going to go well. Like, and you almost just dreaded watching it. And there was that hangover effect that like, it almost just came like that same familiar feeling coming rushing back to people after the Indiana game. It was like, I am not watching this Ohio State game. So there I was on vacation, and I was falling into that trap. I was like, the second this game starts looking out of hand, I'm out. Like, I can't let it ruin like my family day. Like we're trying to go hiking. We're trying to get out. I watched every single second, and I was glued to the TV. And all of a sudden, like, it's amazing what difference a week can make. Because on the one hand, I was just like, this is truly unbelievable that we are sticking in this game and that the defense could rebound so well, like to keep us in it. On the other hand, the offense blew the game, and we should have won. And so I left it. I was so confused. I was like, I am just I'm experiencing a whirlwind of emotions. I don't know if I'm angry or happy, and I still haven't like figured it out. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's an okay. Like it's one of those moral victories, and we're the moral victory national champions. I mean, I swear we win we go undefeated in moral victory games every year. And I'm kind of
it was definitely, I think everybody sort of went in and felt like, okay, I'm just going to follow the score. We'll see. I'm not going to like get it. Obviously we're going to lose. We're down. They're favored by 25.5. And I mean, the game started absolutely atrociously, right? You start with he fumbles the opening snap or fumbles the opening kick.
Opening kick.
Again.
And then we have a fumbled snap.
Second straight game
which
that
then
he's
leads to
opening.
Well,
so the Indiana game, we started the opening kick and he ran out of bounds on the 1 yard line nonsensically. And now this game, he just fumbles it. And now we start on the 8 yard line.
Welcome to the game.
But then he punts to, and Bushini shanks the punt. So like right off the bat, you're like, okay, they're clearly not here. This is Indiana 2.0. And you're kind of already checked out. You're like, all right,
I was heading down to the lake. I was getting my swimsuit on. I was like, I'm out. This is
So you're like, Ohio State's gonna score, obviously.
But I am a sicko. So I just was like, let's just hang on.
I will say that. So I will say that first stop for me.
Yeah.
Got a little something going because I was like, okay,
A little juice.
just a tiny, but it was almost more so like I thought a lot was like, just don't get embarrassed. I was like, okay, good. So like we made the first stop, we'll be able to get the ball back, and we aren't going to be completely embarrassed. Great. Offense is bad, but that I guess that before we kind of dive into these, like there were so many moments throughout the course of the game of, okay, we're going to get blown out, and then we're not getting blown out, and then it was 14-3, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is over. But then they like keep kind of climbing back, and they like pull you back in. We're like, you're kind of fully checked out, and then at halftime, I know we were texting. I was like, I don't know, maybe we'll win, but also no chance because they're just going to call the Jeremiah Smith play. But then like the longer the game went on and the closer it was, you're like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. It was insane
Like,
how easy they scored, and then how they kind of just went away from it. I mean, he only threw 16 passes.
Well, yeah, I think they were just so
That's crazy. He was 13 for
used to.
16. Will Howard. I mean,
I think they were just so not used. He was 13 for his first 13, I think. Or I think he started like 11 for 11 or something crazy. I was like, wow, they don't even have an incompletion.
Yeah, but it was just crazy. But when you look at how we were limiting their ability to get off the field, like his efficiency, like they weren't, other than those long receptions, which were a total of like almost half of it was about like 40+% of their passing yards were on 2 plays, the 2 touchdown passes. But after that, I mean, we kind of put the clamps down until their scoring drive in the fourth quarter. They could not run the ball, and we kept getting off the field. So, like, for Ohio State to only throw 16 passes on you is crazy. And for Ohio State to only rush for 64 yards on you is doubly crazy.
Well, so this is they're the number 6th ranked offense coming into the game in the country.
Yeah,
and
we got chance after chance on them, chance after chance, and that's what.
Yeah, I think that the reason the emotions are all over the place too is I've been following like the Ohio State message boards, and like even I was following them on Twitter during the game. They were ready to lose.
Losing it.
But they were ready to lose. Everybody in the stadium was ready to lose. They were booing. They were throwing things on the field. Like this was it. The game was won. We had it. The game was won. It was ours. We were winning. And then like I think you had said it, like it was just Big Brother just kind of being like, okay, now we're just gonna score a touchdown. They did, which is weird that they couldn't do it all game, and then it just the only drive they were able to score a touchdown like was when they needed it, which is such a bummer because their second half drives started punt, interception, punt. Yeah. And that's 3 and out. That's 3 and out with an interception on the first play of the drive, then a 3 and out, then a 3 and out. They basically ran 3, 6, 7, 8. They ran like 10 plays in the third quarter for no gain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think when you
put up 3 points, and then after that last punt that you mentioned, we would go down and put our best scoring drive of the game together.
Yeah.
And go up 17-14. Like at that point in the game, you're feeling like Ohio State can't do jack right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean,
go 2 slides. Go 2 slides down. One more. Yeah. So I mean, I tweeted this right after the game. It was kind of like fresh, but I was like, man, I could not believe. So we held Ohio State to 64 rushing yards, which is insane. Like I guess at the macro level too, that's where it's like you got to give these guys props. Where this is a $20 million NIL roster. Ohio State went all in, right? They got Quinshon Judkins, the number 1 running back in the country. They poach him away from Ole Miss, and we held him to 10 carries for 29 yards, right? This is the number 1 best running back in the country for 29 yards on 10 carries, right? He's number 1, right? And the number 1 transfer, Will Howard, he did play pretty well, 13, 16,
not to mention the Travion Henderson. They have like
Travion Henderson, 10 carries for 25 yards. So like you're talking about the best rushing back, rushing in the country, best rushing attack. You hold them to 64 yards. And so that's the number 6 rushing, the number 6 offense in the country. We hold to, 64 yards rushing. Unbelievably impressive. They forced 5 punts, an interception, a missed field goal. That missed field goal they had was a disaster, by the way. It was like something was off with Ohio State the entire game. I was like, I just don't see them as like a playoff team.
Oh my God. He looked like the John Hole version from a couple games ago.
Yeah, John Hole.
He kicked the ground.
Yeah, he just He wasn't
We
close.
trotted out a new version of John Hole,
We just
and no one was
upgraded him.
ready for that. Nobody was ready
Upgrade.
for that.
Upgrade.
We did.
Upgrade.
It was John Hole 2.0 was fantastic. I mean, that was it was ridiculous.
Yeah, so he was. I mean, God, he kicked an absolute bomb.
Yeah,
but I thought,
54 yards. That was the
the
longest in
highest.
school history on the road. Do you know that?
I mean, it's 54 yards. I don't even know if you've ever kicked 54-yard besides Alex Henry.
I'm pretty sure he tied Brett Maher, actually, who's now back on the staff, so they can hold the record together and hold hands together on that one, which is cool.
So I guess that, I mean, at the highest
That's
level,
another positive.
This entire thing is what gives you hope for the back half of the year. You've got UCLA, USC, Iowa, and Wisconsin. You're like, if this defense plays like this, not like they did against Indiana, I still do not understand that at all. Like, that is the single most. I mean, I'm so dumbfounded that this same defense that just shut down the number 6 offense in the country can give up 56 points to Indiana. I don't get it. Like, I mean, but Indiana's 8-0, so I have no idea. I don't get it. I don't understand Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, either Indiana is. Yeah, Indiana was picked dead last in the Big Ten. I'm pretty sure the entire country was just straight up wrong and underestimating Signetti. Like,
but think about how crazy it is, because think about it. It should have been the opposite. Ohio State put together an all-star team, and they're like kind of stinky. And then Indiana has a bunch of James Madison transfers, and they're like the New England Patriots with like Tom Brady. It's like the crazy, like, what is going on? They're the total opposite. I mean, the more that they win, the better it makes me feel. As I'm like, all right, it wasn't but it's still an unacceptable 56-7 loss. Like, I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah, the positives from the game overall, as we kind of go through, I mean, I think everybody, like, you kind of leave this game with a couple of positives that everybody agrees on and a couple negatives that everybody agrees on. The positives being, okay, just overall game script, the fact that we were in the game till like the wire to wire with a top 5 team on the road with a true freshman quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay. Kicking game, obvious positive. That the fact that we can kick field goals again is remarkable new development.
Changed everything.
We went from thinking we were never going to make a field goal for, I don't know, maybe a decade, to now we should kick more. And
this guy can't miss.
That's going to really help if we can keep doing that.
Yeah, it's like, now he can't miss.
Positive one. Number 3, the rushing defense was outstanding. I mean, I'm pulling up the Ohio State rushing stats right now. Yeah, like you said, 10 carries, 29 yards for Judkins, 10 carries, 25 yards for Travion Anderson. Will Howard, who actually can scamper himself a little bit, 8 carries, 14 yards.
Do you know do you know what they did on
2.1 yards per rush for Ohio State?
Do you know what they did on third downs?
1 for 10, right?
1 for 10. You know how insane that is?
So we held them to 1. Okay, so put that another one in the positive column. Love that. 1 for 10. Yeah, we were just getting off the field. They really didn't run that many plays overall, which those were all outstanding. The negatives. So Hartzog, kind of an up and down game. Got absolutely roasted in coverage several times, and he has several times this season. I'm getting like very tired of that happening.
Was he the Jeremiah? He wasn't the Jeremiah one, was he?
Yeah, I think he was at least a part of that.
Yeah, because Jeremiah Smith was running by Gifford. He was running by Gifford on that. I was like, how did this happen?
In particular, Gifford got roasted on that one. Carnell Tate beat Hartzog on the first one. But then he gets an interception, so I guess we can put that as a net neutral. I don't know, but Hartzog.
I thought it was weird though. The Jeremiah Smith thing, he had 3 catches, 70 yards. Only one catch was 60 yards, which obviously, like, he did his thing. They didn't throw to him. It's very weird.
Couldn't believe it. They're leading receiver.
Why would you not?
4 receptions, 102. Smith was 3 for 70.
Why would you throw him?
Egbuka is a 5-star, like, possible first-round talent. 3 receptions, 20 yards. It just didn't. I mean, that part. I can see why Ohio State fans are so like upset, because Indiana carved us through the air. I mean, just carved us.
So did Illinois.
And I felt like Ohio State could have done that, especially as we didn't have Tommy Hill. We didn't have our best cornerback on the team on the field.
I think they were just so like convinced that their running backs were just going to be able to like break one or something that they were just like they're like at some point this is going to work. And then I don't know. I mean, kudos to the D. They stood up. They can, they were complaining the entire broadcast about the Ohio State's offensive line was like having a bunch of injury issues and stuff. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure their backups are all 5 stars too.
Yeah. I mean, it was bizarre. They kept kind of trying to go to the run, and I don't blame them for trying to establish the run, but we held them to 64 yards. That was less than half of what their second lowest total was, which was against Oregon. They had 141 against Oregon. We held them to 2.06 yards per rush. Their second lowest is 4.27 yards per rush against Oregon.
Wow, that's crazy.
So
they run 200 yards every game. 200, 185, 280, 273, 170. I mean, that's
141 against Oregon was their second lowest. So, I mean, the black shirts stepped up on D. And then this is the first game they hadn't had a rushing touchdown, too. They had 18 rushing touchdowns through 6 games coming in.
Well, but again, so now look at the black shirts. Another game without a rushing touchdown where, like, if you take out the Indiana
only
game.
team we've given up rushing touchdowns to is Indiana.
And we gave up 8. It's like, what the heck happened? It's like, what is like, with 0 rushing touchdowns allowed in 7 games, and then 1 game we gave up 8 randomly, just randomly gave up 8.
That game makes even less sense. But yeah, I mean,
that you gotta go. All right, go 2 more. Let's go talk. We can't get in it. We got to keep going on. Well, we'll go to the offense after this. I want to talk about the officiating first because I'm like still hot and bothered by this. Keep going to the next one. Keep going.
Okay, I'm fine.
Where'd that thing go?
The officiating.
No, keep going. Don't go to that one. Come back to that one. 2 more.
The officiating itself would like start me off. Where are we going with that? Because there are so many places that we can go.
All right. So here, I guess I hate like every game we lose, no matter what, like Husker fans go nuts for like 1 or 2 plays that like, oh man, like, I can't believe like they're out to get us. And like, this giant conspiracy theory. And like, I'm not into that. Truly. Like I really don't think the whole like the Big Ten's out to get us. Like I fan the Flames absolutely because I think it's fun. And but like I really don't think there's some like guy that's like, sitting up there.
I'm not so sure anymore.
But now this game changed everything. This game was, I mean, I was like, it was the most insane, blatant, crazy, bizarre, like things I'd ever seen in. So I rewatched the game this morning, and I charted all of the missed calls. There were 6 of them that were like I would put into like.
I mean, you gotta. That's what Mondays are.
I did. To be fair, I did. While exercising, I did on the. I was on the Peloton and I watched it, and I was like watching it on fast forward. It's like the best. You can watch it. You can watch an entire game if you like cut out all the middle stuff in like 15 minutes. It's crazy because it's just like fast forward through. Like the actual plays happening on the game are like 15 minutes long. Anyway, cut the fluff. So each of these was, it wasn't just like, oh man, like we aren't getting held, like blah, blah, blah. It was like every single one of these changed the trajectory of the game. And it was 6 of them. And they were just like astoundingly bad. And I actually missed one here because I listened to Rule's press conference. There was a 7th one that I'll get into. The first one, a missed holding call on Nayor, which was the first drive, beautiful pass from Loyola, which was a catch, and they overruled it because a blade of grass was like ruled, something or other, right? That was trash. But they called, they missed the holding call, like when they were showing it showing it in slow motion. This is that picture in the top right. They're like in slow motion. Let's see if he catches it, and you're just like,
you're like, look at it off of his pads.
You're like, he doesn't have, he can't catch it because his shoulder pads are coming off. And so like they're like, oh, no catch, bummer. I'm like, and even Joel Klatt is like, he might have gotten away with a little hold. Joel Klatt said that 6 times. He might have gotten away with a little hold. He said that 6 times throughout the game. So the second one, this is the one in the top left, a missed holding call on Jamari Butler. This is him almost sacking Will Howard, and he got tackled. He got choke slammed.
Yeah,
on the neck.
He got brought down.
Will
He
Howard
went
ran
to
for
the
8.
ground.
Yes, Will Howard went for 8 yards. They ended up getting first down and kept the drive going. Right, great. That's number 2. But like, fine, maybe that's a judgment call and the holding call. Okay, so he missed the fact that his jersey was coming off his shoulder pads. He missed the choke slam. Got it. The bad first down spot at the end of the half was
Oh my
it
God.
was that to me is one of the most shocking and egregious missed calls I've ever seen in 100 years of watching football. Like
It was
it
crazy.
was, he was so far above the line. His entire body
Yeah.
crossed the
By
line to gain.
1 yard.
There was no part of his body was even on the other side
Yeah,
of
not
him.
even a shoelace.
I mean, he was the whole line too. If you watch the whole drive, the entire
Oh yeah.
line, every single player was on the other side. That's a reviewable play. That's something that the league office should
Seriously,
have been
I think
like,
the ref might have been drunk. I think he ran out there crooked. He was like,
he
"Where's the
ran out
spot?" And
there.
he's
He
falling.
ran
He's
out on the
falling to the
wrong
side.
side. So that was your like. I mean, and then the play. So the clock's running. You lose 30 seconds. It keeps running and running and running because we assume the clock has stopped because that's what happens in the game of football after first down. Then we have to run
Yeah.
out an entirely different personnel, line them
They
up,
had to
get
burn
a
a
first
timeout.
down.
They had
No,
to
we got
burn
the
a
first
timeout.
down. Yeah, then burn a timeout. But all because in like poor communication on that. So that was one thing. And you're like, okay, that was a really bad play. The next play was the very next play was he throws a deep ball to Banks in the end zone, and they called the offensive pass interference. Offensive pass interference gets called once every 10 games. We had 2 of them
Yeah.
in this game. And it was a ball that just went up in the air. And Joel Klatt says on the line, he's like, oof, that was not pass interference on anybody. I don't know why they're throwing those calls. That was on back-to-back
Yeah.
plays. The missed
They
first down followed by that. And Joel Klatt's sitting there like, oh, that was really bad clock management. And then he comes back and he's like, oh, wait, okay.
yeah.
Oh, no, something happened there.
It
No.
was so crazy because they went to Mike Pereira during that.
Yeah, he's
And
like, that's wrong.
Pereira's like, I mean, they like try so hard to like sugarcoat it, but he's just like, I don't know what we are doing here.
Well, but it's like, hey, can you like call them and
He's
be like, can we?
I don't think I would have called that or that.
But that to me was like a crazy,
It was
like,
one of the first
okay,
times ever that I've heard Pereira be trying to analyze 2 missed calls at the same
in a row.
time.
Yeah, he's like, both of those were wrong.
They couldn't do them fast enough. They were like, hey, what about the spot? And also, what about whatever else we just witnessed? And
Both of them were wrong.
2 blown calls, and those were huge because that OPI, like, that would have pushed us 15 yards further. You would have had a shot. I think we were
Well, so
pretty
the
close.
OPI would have been a dead ball. Like we ended up getting 3, like because that was a whole kick to 54-yarder. Like we ended up getting points. It didn't really matter at the end of it.
A 54-yarder.
Well, right, but because they got the big pass play on the next yard.
We would have been
the
in
next
the
one.
like borderline red zone if they call that.
But that was like the craziest
on the defense, which is what it was.
The craziest like sequence of events of being like, oh my God, like this is truly, that was something that was like, it was almost like, okay, hey, let's, they gave the bad spot and then the refs out there like, okay, they can't get points right here. Like truly there's this like, this is insane. You can't call those plays back to back. It's so obvious. Like, there's, it's truly like point shaving. You're like, what is going on? It's like obvious point shaving. So those 2 happened. And then 2 more. There's a missed holding call on Barney, third down
they were
drive.
just so critical.
Third down drive in the 4th quarter. And, and he throws it and he catches his jersey. This is the one in the bottom right. You can't really see very well on screen, but grabs his jersey again. Joel Klatt says, looks like he got away with a hold. That's third down, missed.
Choking him.
It would have been a 15-yard game. Would have kept the drive going, and that would have been the game-winning drive for us. Who knows if we would have scored? I don't know. Fine. Right after that, next drive, third down, offensive PI on Banks. Offensive pass interference. A game that ends a drive in the 4th quarter. That was 6 plays. This wasn't even all of them. So then another one that Rule pointed out when Dowdell on the right after the interception that came from Hartzog all the way down to 3-yard line, and Satterfield couldn't draw up a play to save his life. We'll get into him in a second because he was an absolute disaster. Lloyd took it down to the half-yard line, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and this is like Rule explained this. I was like furious. I was furious at the time. He was on the half-yard line, maybe on the quarter-inch line. They spotted on the 1.5-yard line, right? So they brought in Dowdell and that whole Ty Robinson package, and they called the play to go over the top. And Rules like it was loud, and there's a lot of excuses, but like it was loud, blah blah blah. Like I didn't know where we were. I didn't know we were on the 1.5-yard line. So they call that play. They would never call that play from like the 1.5, 2-yard line. They would call something else. Bad spot again by a full yard. And Rules like, I mean, it doesn't change the alter of the game. Like you got to punch it in, you got to be better than them. But Dowdell did score later in the game on that exact same play from the half-yard line. So like it does work. So that was another one. And then the last one, while I'm on a roll.
Well, I mean, yeah, not to mention like he did go forward about a yard. He just didn't make it into the end zone.
He didn't make it too, which is what we're all screaming about. I was like, that was the worst play call of all time. Like nobody can jump 3 yards through the air like Walter Payton style into the end zone.
It would have been a hell of a leap.
The last one then, and you probably saw this today. So the targeting call, which is the first call we finally got, which didn't matter because we didn't end up scoring anyways. The targeting call that we finally get, and it was a very clear targeting in my eyes of like, he was a defensive receiver, forearm to the head and neck area, whips back, all of the things, defensive receiver, check.
Yeah.
They overturned it today. Do you see that?
Yeah. Yeah. They decided, well, that guy's going to actually be pretty valuable against Penn State. So we're going to probably reinstate him.
That's 8. That's crazy.
Oh, and not to mention like that review in particular was complete and utter like chaos. Like that was like the Texas Georgia game. People are throwing bottles and things on the field, and like apparently just throwing things on the field, you get your way now because Ohio State ultimately got their way. But like I couldn't blame them because like no one knew what was going on. And then Ryan Day on the sideline.
There's the other one. That's number 9.
Number 9. He is he is throwing a bigger tantrum than all my kids combined this weekend when we, didn't go to the hot tub like they wanted to. He is like on the ground kicking and screaming.
Which is the exact, but that was the exact same play that Rule got called for the penalty against, what was that, Rutgers? Yeah. Like whatever game it was. Now I'm like blacking out. But that exact play, Rule threw his headset on the ground, and he got a 15-yard penalty for throwing his headset on the ground. Yeah, Ryan Day threw the headset at the guy's face and was like, oh, and they were like, it's a warning.
Screaming.
It's a warning.
Yeah, and that was another 15 yards in our last drive.
That would have been a 15 yards. That would have gotten us all the way to their 40-yard line.
Yeah.
First and 10 from their 40-yard line. I think we were on
the 46 or something. So, yeah.
It would have been another 15 yards on top of it. I mean, that to me was like, all right, like I'm not the conspiracies, like we want to hold, like, because at the end of the day, the Big Ten, you would think wants Nebraska to be good. It's better for ratings. Like it's the best TV watch of all time. Like, but like, oh my God, what are we doing? But I do like the concept of protecting the brand makes sense of like,
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, in theory, like you want somebody to play in the title game for your conference, and Ohio State's got amongst the best chances. I don't know. I don't like to buy into that stuff either, but what we can all agree on, like Ohio State fans included, because they were the ones throwing crap on all of their belongings were ending up on the field. So they obviously agree the consistency needs to improve. Like it's just crazy. From game to game, from quarter to quarter, from one sideline to one sideline, like just the consistency is killing us. Like just what some teams are getting away with and some teams are not. And then honestly, sometimes there was a couple calls that we did get some of their defensive pass interferences that I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's, but that I will say, and that, so this is, we can shift from the refs into the offense of like, our offense is killing me. And we can shift into this because I'm like, clearly everybody's watching a ton of film and they've got Rayola's weaknesses figured out and they're kind of trying to throw stuff at him because this has happened now. And we can talk about the screens in a second. But shifting from like the Ohio State defense. So they were just mugging our guys, right? And I can't quite figure out if that's like a strategy in order to keep Raiola out of rhythm. Is like, number one, the defensive back for Ohio State got called for 3 different pass interferences. 3 different pass interferences. And he had one of the other ones. And a lot of them, he's just assaulting Banks, just assaulting him. And I literally can't figure out. I'm like, all right, is this part of their strategy? Because if you remember back in like the Purdue game and against Rutgers, we had like 3 or 4 offensive pass interferences. Like they're constant offensive pass interferences. And I can't quite figure out like if that's intentional in order to keep him out of rhythm. So I don't know what's going on there, but it kind of works because he never kind of gets into that downfield rhythm. And so we end up just going screen pass heaven. Yeah, go ahead with the roller coaster, but
So I mean, the roller coaster has been. We are currently in a trough. Like we're at the town. He really hate to say it, but it's been 3 in a row pretty bad games. I mean, they've been his 3 worst games of the season. We'll just say that.
Yep.
And it just so happens that they've been 3 fairly crucial games, and we've lost 2 of them. We only put up 14 points on Rutgers. The thing that I think stands out, I guess, is like he seems to be. I don't know that his first 5 games maybe like got to his head, but like I think he's trying too hard. Like that's like the biggest thing that stands out is that how often do we see him go and just like catch his snap, knows exactly where he's going, boom, I'm hitting a pass.
Yeah.
Like it seems like some of these routes are long developing. I think the calls that Sat is making, it's either like a quick screen and you just throw it, or we're looking 20 to 30 yards down the field instead of just like, how about 5 to 10 yards? Where's like our intermediate passing game? Like that doesn't have to be a screen. Everybody commented his best throw of the game was when he picked up a blitz and then he hit Nair on like the quick inside slant.
Yep. Yeah.
But those are the kinds of throws that like, he can make them. He can figure it out. He can do it. He's got the accuracy. Why aren't we scheming that up more? I mean, Banks and Nair again combined for like 4 total catches. Your wideouts. I mean, that's like it just keeps happening every week. And like the first 5 games, those were his go-to guys. But the last 3 or 4, he's
4
just
catches
gone away from that. And it's like we need to scheme it up a little different. Like he seems to be going from his first to his second to his third to his fourth read and then scramble and then he'll make a play to Fedoni or Nair or Banks. But instead, like I'd like to see it just 1, 2, and boom, like get it out of your hands.
I think there's. I was listening to Nick Bosmore, he was kind of talking about this, which got me thinking about it. Like I don't know if it's intentional or they don't draw it up. Like they never let him uncork it, or he never uncorks it. Like the Jalen Lloyd deep ball, like I really thought they would do that once a game, twice a game, right? Like like the Casey Thompson to Trey Palmer, like, you know what? I'm just going to throw it as far as I can, and Trey Palmer's going to run under and get it, right? I mean, Raiola can throw it 70 yards. Just launch one, keep him honest and go deep, because I feel like he tries to complete every single pass, and like I think that there's an accuracy thing there, and he's completing 65% of his passes, 66% of his passes, but he doesn't. I don't know. I would agree. He's like overthinking a lot of them, and then he misses those wide open ones, which I put videos in. We can watch those in a sec. But it's the offense is confusing. The running game was like playing pretty well, though. I mean, I think if you look at it, like this was Dowdell's best game, maybe directionally.
Yeah, directionally. We still don't have a player that has rushed for 100 yards this season in a game.
Oh my God, is that true? That's so bad.
And kind of nuts, but
that's so bad.
Yeah, Dowdell is he looked a little bit better. We know he's going to run hard. We happened to open up better holes, I think, this last game than was expected. I mean, like on the Underdog Fantasy, our proud provider, use promo code HuskGuys. They had his over under at what was it? Let's see. I think it was 32.5 rushing yards was his over under against Ohio State. 32.5.
For who's Dowdell's?
for Dowdle.
Yeah,
So
he was over. He was over.
but he
Everybody else
got
was
it.
on.
He got it.
Everybody else was under.
I'm just saying like the pregame expectations were just in the absolute gutter.
Well,
But
freaking Rayola's over under was at 172 and he hit the under. Like, dude, you can't throw
yeah,
200 yards. Like, good grief! Like, what are we doing? I mean, everybody was in the under. I mean, you're still in the game and like, but yeah, I mean, so let's go a couple of these because I want to make sure we get to these. Go to yeah, I mean, I guess on the screen pass one. First off,
yeah. So where are we at on Coach Satterfield? That's the big topic.
I mean, everybody's killing the guy, and rightfully so. It's just like there's no identity. You have no idea what's going on. There's a lot of things like he's getting crushed for, and he should. Like this is one where I find that I charted the game. It's like, all right, he completed 21 passes. 8 of them went for either no gain or loss. So it's 8 completions that went behind the line of scrimmage. Not to mention the ones we missed. Like we missed like 2 or 3 others. So he basically threw like 12 or 13.
For no gain or a loss of yards. 8
for no gain. 8 completions for no gain. But then we also had 2 or 3 that he like dropped or we missed. And so out of 32 passes, like 11 of them were behind the line of scrimmage. So 33% of your passes are behind the line of scrimmage and screen passes in some capacity. It just doesn't work. And I think that's what's like destroying people is like Banks can't block on the outside. And we ran a screen pass to Banks direction 3 times. Or either a screen pass or a handoff to Barney to Banks direction 3 different times. All 3 times, Joel Klatt was like, "Oh, Banks missed another block. Banks missed another block." Like, it's just not what he's good at. And so when you see stuff like that, you're like, "All right, Satterfield's not maximizing the talent of the team, right?" Because Banks isn't good at blocking. Like, it's not working. Put Coleman out there. Put Fedoni out there. Put Bullock out there. But they were, even if you like, as I rewatched it this morning, Ohio State knew what we were doing. Every single screen pass, their nose tackle would run out to the running back. Like he wouldn't even rush. He would just like run straight out to the running back.
Sign stealing maybe.
Yeah, I mean, sign stealing. I don't even think there are signs of stealing.
No, it's just that it's just so predictable.
It's just that easy for them. I struggle with
the biggest thing. I think
what are we doing?
Rule, and Rule even like addressed those screen passes and stuff today, and he's like, "Well, like we were going against such a talented defensive front, and it's like, okay, that's fair. Like, get it out of your hands quicker, and play the horizontal game." The problem to me was like the timing of things and just the amount. And clearly, like if you went 8 or no gain or a loss of yards, like you would think after 3 or 4, you'd maybe say this is not good. And you know when the worst timing possible for a loss of yards would be on a pass that stays in bounds is the last drive of the game.
The last 2 in a row. You drew 2 in a row.
2 screens. And so then we were working with like 3rd and 19.
Oh,
so I mean that's when Rayola felt completely compelled to, try and rip one in and ends up throwing an interception. So I'm conflicted because there are times when Satterfield looks like a genius, and there are also times when some of those screen passes, like you can tell, you're like, it's there. It was it like you hold that block, Banks, that's 10 yards. Easy, no problem. But if someone is obliterating your perimeter receiver, and you don't have a chance to
and this is where
forward, that's where you're like, change your strategy mid-game, make some adjustments, make some tweaks, get different personnel out there, do something. But clearly what you're trying to do is not working, and you need to scheme to your available personnel right now. And,
it's so hard with him.
I don't know if it's going to last. I really don't.
I doubt it at this point. I guess there's a couple elements of this because it's like a nuanced discussion where when it works, I think it's actually pretty fun. Like I thought the Colorado game was fun. I thought the Purdue game was fun. I thought when it's working and you got Ja'Cory Barney running all over the place, and like even some of those early games we're throwing deep balls to Neor and Banks. It was fun. Like we're throwing deep balls to Lloyd. Like he's got some elements here. Like this is fun. That's the okay, maybe this will work. And we'll run into these plays in a second. There's also the element though of I'm pretty sure, I haven't seen the official stat. I meant to look this up. I think our offense is worse statistically than last year in points scored and yards.
we were like, I can say that we were pretty darn close to dead last year in red zone scoring.
We're
And
120th this year.
this year, we're close.
Wrong?
130th is what I've got on teamrankings.com.
Wait, there aren't even 130 teams.
We're right in front of, you know who we're right in front of? UTEP.
Oh, God.
Oh, yes.
So that's where I'm like, I'm at a loss because you're like, all right, somehow, like literally the narrative all of last year was like, he can't win. He's just got Herbert. He's got this
that's touchdown. That is touchdown percentage.
He's got this like linebacker, fullback playing quarterback. Wait until he gets the number one quarterback in the country. He's going to light it up. Now he's got the number one quarterback in the country. Still can't score. It's a miracle whenever he score a touchdown. It's a miracle whenever he score points. So that brings you back to like, God, like what other offensive coordinator in the country would not kill to have Dylan Raio's talent and a 5-star tight end and 2 big-bodied wide receivers and an Oregon running back who just came from the number one team. I mean, it's like on paper we have ridiculous talent. It's just like watching it unfold. You're like, you're dying. But yeah, see if this works. Does this work? Hang on, it's not working. All right. Well, maybe the video itself won't. Does that video work or no?
No.
Bummer.
Sad.
All right. Well, so these are the 2 plays that I just was like trying to give Satterfield the benefit of the doubt, at least a little bit, was he had Banks running wide open on the right side of the field. This is towards the end of the game. This would have been a game-winning touchdown catch, or at least a go-ahead touchdown catch. He was open by 20 yards. Wide open. Absolutely wide open. And Raiola, I don't know what happens in these moments. I don't know if he just missed him. I don't know if he's feeling like there's pressure coming off. He wasn't pressured. He was, and give Satterfield credit, he had schemed him wide open. That would have been a touchdown, right? A second one that I put up there, it's not going to work, but was he had Barney in the back left of the end zone.
Yeah.
And Ohio State's defender had fallen down.
Yeah,
all he had to do was just like throw it straight up in the air. He could have caught it like a punt. There was no one around him within 20 yards, and he overthrew it out of the back of the end zone. Again, and that brings back memories of that Illinois overthrow that would have won the game. And so you're like, all right, is he young? Is it youth? Is it inexperience? Is like the moment too big? Is the adrenaline going? Like, what is it that those are the 2 plays? But again, and then you're like, all right, Satterfield, like I'm looking at these 2 plays that he couldn't hit wide open receivers, but he threw 32 passes and no one was open for 30 of them. So it's hard to be like, I don't know. It's like, maybe it was just 2 weird passes, but it happens to be the only 2 good plays that Satterfield called all day are incomplete because of it. So I'm all over the place on Satterfield, to be honest, because I'm like, I would think there's got to be an offensive coordinator out there that could come in with this talent and do way better.
Yeah, like at first I just wasn't convinced that this is like all on Satterfield. Like there's like, and I'm still not. Really, honestly, I'm not. I mean, there are just times when you're just like the lack of execution is absolutely killing us. And it is like someone just punching you in the gut every time you're watching a game. You just like, I don't know. You just watch these things that just seem like so basic. I mean, broken plays, fumbled handoffs, just like, some of these things that like people are blaming on Coach Foley for special teams are just like, like, oh my God, I dropped a snap again. Like, oh, it's a bad snap again. Like, he's not telling him to do that. He's literally, So the same goes for Satterfield. Like, it's just the execution needs to be cleaner. Part of that's on him, but some of it is just the strategy and stuff is harder to identify now. Like, it seemed like early in the year we wanted to be a power running team that had a very good like passing balance, and then we shied towards and now we're a pass first team because we can't run. And then against Ohio State it was a little bit more of a balance that I think would all prefer. I hope we get back to it. He can save his job. All I would say is if it continues in this way, he's not going to save his job. Like that's just a near guarantee that if you don't average more than 20 points a game this year with this offense and this transfer haul and these one of the most experienced returning O-lines in the country. I know we're injured and stuff up front, but like you got to be putting 20 points a game up on Big Ten defenses here.
Well, that's right. I mean, he was getting the other thing that he's not doing himself any favors on. I can't wait for his press conference this week, but like he's not doing himself any favors in what he's saying and how he's going about it. And we didn't do our pod last week to talk about his Indiana press conference. Did you see that thing?
Which one?
His Satterfield's press conference after Indiana.
Oh, no.
Oh, good.
I
You're on vacation.
briefly left the world after Indiana.
Yeah. Well, so the stuff that was going viral because he got asked, what is a target yards per play? What's a target yards per play that you're hoping to get? And he was like, oh, man, I don't really know. Like, I guess like a little bit more than what we're doing, something like 4 to 6. I'm not really sure. And like literally was like answering it like that. He's just kind of like, I think it's, I don't know, like 4 to 6, I think would be good. And he's like, I don't really know. Is it like, what's the top in the country? And like the writers were sitting there like you don't, they were like, you don't know what, like he had no idea what his current yards per play was. He didn't really have a goal for like what they were hoping to get or what they're hoping to achieve. And like,
that's
but he was just like, I don't know, like 4 to 6, I think would probably be good. And you're like,
just made it up.
That's where he's like kind of killing himself is like in the modern game when analytics and sabermetrics and every type of analytical is available to you and you're making $1 million a year and like you have an entire team of data scientists and like and you've got all these coaches out there that are using it and you're not like tough time
help
there.
yourself, buddy.
Anyway, but let's talk. Should we do some Underdog? All right. First off, folks, got to check out Underdog. Head up to Underdog, fantasy sports app. Super fun. You're going to have a great time with it. If you use Husk Guys as a promo code, if you're a first time user, you get 50% of a match, 50% match on your first donation. So you put $100 in, you get $50 free. $200 in, you got $100. You get the idea. Use Husk Guys promo code.
And it's not a donation; it's an investment.
Investment in growth. But it's also fun. It makes the game a lot more fun, especially being able to pick highs and lowers on each of these games. We were wrong on most of these, so I wanted to flash them back up.
We weren't wrong. The people were wrong.
That's true. Okay, so the first one was Jamal. Okay, can you read that first one? Jamal Banks line is set at 26.5 receiving yards for Ohio State, and everybody said lower, and they were wrong.
Wrong out.
He had 31.
Boom.
He
goes out
shout
out to the haters.
Shout out to the haters. Longest reception of 16.5. He had a 19, so he would have hit twice. He did not have a touchdown, so he hit 2 out of 3. But
bingo.
Didn't exactly crush them. These lines, like when you look at him, you're like, wait, 26? He just needs a 1 catch. Like, that's so easy. Like, oh, he grinded to get that catch. And they had 2 offensive pass interferences. So he would have hit on 2 out of 3 of his. The running back room was kind of a mess. This one was, they had Ramir at 21.5, Dowdell at 21.5, and Emmett Johnson at 0.5 rushing receiving yards.
Yeah.
The only one that hit miraculously was Dowdell, who went over 21.5. Ramir didn't play. Emmett did not score a touchdown. Therefore,
those were shockingly low lines. You just had to like pick the right one. Like
wild
pick the right 21.5 for your starting running back is.
It's just,
you just you gotta take it. Like you're just like, okay, this would be. I'm going down with the ship if we're.
But he didn't. I think he had
1 yard rusher.
I think in the first half he had like
8
yards or something. No, in the first half he had like 8 yards.
Okay.
He absolutely did not have it until the second half. And I think he had 56 yards in the second half. Absolutely did not have it. So that one missed. And then the rail one drove me nuts. Everybody predicted lower than 172, like 55% said that Rayola would have under 172.5 passing yards, and he did. He had exactly 152, which I don't know. I guess I just thought like, man, maybe we would like be down by a lot and he'd be like throwing it like crazy, but I was very wrong. But the rest of those rushing and receiving touchdowns, he did not have a touchdown.
I mean,
he didn't have a passing touchdown.
All of these were attainable.
Like him having a single passing touchdown would have paid out. Him having he did have interceptions. That's a higher. Good job there. Longest completion at 35.5. I don't have that stat, but maybe you got that one. Did not have a passing touchdown lower. So, I mean, not a great game there.
Yeah, go get your money. Go get your money, people.
Yeah, check that one out. Who else we miss?
I missed like all of these.
Well, so I missed.
So
I had
Corey
Dowdell. I had
Barnhill,
Dowdell, and I missed Rayola.
I got that one. Receiving yards. Jeremiah Smith higher than 74.5.
He did not hit. That didn't hit.
Rayola higher than 166.5 passing yards is the line I got it at. Jamal Banks higher than 28.5 receiving yards. And then Nair, I've missed on Nair every single game, but
15.
I will not stop betting him. This was a very biased Husker bet. And
wait, so out of those
on there is you can do the flex play, and a flex play is where you basically if you make 5 picks like this and you'll get 4 out of 5 correct, you can still be in the money.
So Barney, you hit. Barney, you hit. Jeremiah Smith, you missed. Dylan Rayola, you missed. Jamal Banks, you hit by a yard.
I missed Rayola. Nair. And so I got 3. If I got 4, I would have been
Jeremiah Smith. Like I'm telling you, you missed Jeremiah Smith. He had 60. Yeah. He had 70 yards.
Oh yeah, correct.
So you got 2
I'm just saying, like, if I got 4, sweet, you're in the money. Didn't get 4, so don't listen to my betting advice. But also, the rest of Husker Nation didn't do great on their betting here too. So this week, though, should we talk some UCLA?
Yeah.
I've got high hopes. We've got a 2015 Foster Farms Bowl rematch here going on. UCLA was Tom Osborne's first career victory. They were also his 100th career victory. Fun facts there. And this was in the UCLA's pregame prediction on Sports Illustrated. For UCLA, this is largely going to come down to how well Garbers leads this team. Against Rutgers, the starting quarterback recorded 32 completions for 383 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 48 rushing yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, so he accounted for all 5. But he's had a rough year. Across 6 games, Garbers made 124 completions for 1,484 yards and 8 touchdowns. What remains concerning is he leads the conference with 9 interceptions.
Great.
Love that.
Great.
Nebraska has a much tougher defense, so Garbers is going to have a tougher time getting the ball out. Still, I expect the Bruins to come out on top, but just barely. So we got a Nebraska minus 6.5 spread right now. Probably the last game of the season that we are going to be favored in, if I had to guess. At least as of right now. At least as of right now. The deal with UCLA, looking into them, they've had a rough schedule. So Indiana at the time that they played them was not ranked, but obviously they are 8-0 in top 10. They've got number 16 LSU that I think they've dropped a little bit since this came out. They had number 8 Oregon on their schedule, number 7 Penn State. So that's 4 top 20 teams out of their first 7 games. Obviously they lost all of them. Because UCLA is not that good of a team. But then they had this nice surprise win over Rutgers. Their offensive coordinator is Eric Bieniemy, who's like actually been kind of rumored to be like he's always in the rumor mill regarding taking like NFL jobs. And so it was a surprising get for Deshaun Foster to lure Bieniemy over there. And their offense maybe started clicking a little bit on Rutgers, who, held us to 14 points. So comparing those games, like the fact that they did that is interesting. Their rushing offense is last in the Big Ten. That is the single biggest advantage that we're going to have on the field. Their passing offense is just 1 ahead of us. So here's your Big Ten conference leaders up here. They are averaging 64 rushing yards per game. They're the only team in the Big Ten to not be averaging over 100 rushing yards per game. Love that. Love that for our defensive line. And I think we're going to be able to pretty easily make them one-dimensional. They're averaging 2.5 yards per rush. Their passing offense, So they're at 237.6 yards per game. That's just ahead of us sitting at 231.8. Obviously, most of our 231.8, the higher end of that average, came in those first 5 games. The last couple, not holding up that end of the deal. But you can see our passing statistics are like nearly identical. UCLA 65.5% completion rate, Nebraska 65.9, 1,663 passing yards for them, 1,854 for us, 7.4 yards per attempt for them, 7.1 yards per attempt for us, 9 touchdowns for them, 9 touchdowns for us, 9 interceptions for them, 7 interceptions for us. With 5 coming in the last 3 games, by the way, for Rayola. So where I'm at there, I guess, is just their offense versus our defense. This is a black shirt party waiting to happen. Like, they are very interception prone and they cannot run the ball. Like, we should have a field day. If they get in a rhythm passing the ball, like, I don't like that. And I don't like the fact that they've got a transfer from Notre Dame in there. They've got Jay Sturdivant, who's one of their top receivers. He's like an animal as well. Like, they've got deep receiving threats, and that's kind of their only hope in this game, is that they just start picking apart our offense or our defense through the air. Thoughts on that?
I mean, dang. I guess I don't think I fully appreciated that they are losing to 4 top 10 teams. I sort of thought, I guess I hadn't looked that closely until right now, that they lost to 4 top 10 teams, and Minnesota, who's actually pretty good too.
And Minnesota's decent. Yeah.
Minnesota's good. But these scores are not lopsided. I'll probably watch some film this week and see like what they actually look like. But I mean, they're not getting blown out by Oregon. They're losing, but they're not. It's not like 56-0. It's like, 34-13. I mean, 42-13, 34-7. I mean, I don't know. They are losing. Penn State 27-11. I mean, that's.
I think they're not good, but I don't think they're as bad as Husker fans want them to be.
Correct. Well, yeah, and everybody's writing this up as a win. I'm like, I don't think anything's a win for us. Like,
it's our best chance at a win, but it's by no means is this going to be a gimme.
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at them too, where I'm like, all right, this is a reeling team. It's a first-year head coach. You would hope that Rule and Tony White can out-scheme a first-year head coach. I also, this is what we had said in the beginning, and it sucks. So we're playing like 5 straight teams that are coming off a bye. It's like the worst setup of all time. So like USC's coming off a bye, USC's coming off a bye. UCLA's coming off a bye. Ohio State just came off a bye. Rutgers came off a bye. Yeah,
Big Ten is big.
But what I'm bummed about with that is like UCLA's the biggest challenge they've had is they've crisscrossed the country like 20 times.
Sure.
Like, and so I was thinking we were pulling them, like they went to Hawaii their first game, which is insane. And then they went to LSU. So they went from UCLA to LSU. Then the next game was at home. Then the next game all the way to Penn State. UCLA to Penn State's like a 7-hour flight. And then at home, and then to Rutgers. They went to Rutgers.
Yeah.
So they've
literally played in both the northeast corner of America and Hawaii.
So they played Hawaii, LSU, Penn State, and Rutgers. That's 4 cross-country 8+ hour flights that they've been on, and now they got to fly again to Nebraska. So flight travel alone, I'm like, there's a first-year head coach who maybe doesn't have these guys well set up. They're late in the season. I hope they're dragging. I hope they're like exhausted, but they're coming off a bye now, so maybe that's all null and void. Boy, I mean, that stinks that they're not as good as the others. Wisconsin was good. I watched that whole game, so that makes me wildly nervous.
This is not like a dreadful team, but one of the things keeping them in it, though, too, is like their defense. So last year, their defense was I have to look at this on numbers next to me, but so they lost Lynn, their defensive coordinator, to USC. But their defense got better and better every year. Last year, their rushing defense was number 2 in the country. Their passing defense was number 19. And so there's still like a little bit of those, that like carryover of like, okay, you were coached by a last coaching staff that was like pretty good. Yeah. And so their rushing defense this year is actually not bad. I mean, definitely better than their passing defense. Like this is probably one of their strengths as a team, and why these other teams aren't like completely blowing them out, and why Minnesota's only putting 21 up because they love to run. But if you look at these numbers, Minnesota, I mean, they love to establish the run. They went 24 rushes for 41 yards on them.
Oof.
Rutgers did a little bit better, 29 rushes for 135. But then Penn State, great running team with like Singleton, Katron Allen. They had 30 rushes for 85 yards. So, I mean, they're holding teams on the ground a little bit. The most rushing yards that they've given up all season in one game is against Oregon. And Oregon had 36 rushes for 153 yards at 4.25 yards per carry. Like that's So they're pretty stout on the ground. Like they're holding teams pretty well there. Their passing defense leaves a little bit more to be desired, and that's where I have a little bit more hope. Is that I think that we're going to have to. I think we have to go into this with a pretty balanced approach. I think that if we can run on Ohio State a little bit, I know we didn't break the game open, but we found some gaps there that we can run on UCLA. But they've given up 14 passing touchdowns to just 4 interceptions. Love that. And they're also giving up over right around 240, 250 passing yards per game. So there's room to be had and stuff through the air. It's going to have to come down to Raiola. If we're not able to establish the run, it's going to be a problem. And it's going to be a mighty close game. I don't know that we cover this game.
I just don't know. I'll keep coming back to what? So now we're 8 games in. I still don't know who this team is. It's a very weird year. I'm going to keep going back to this Colorado game that we were both at. That'll be a lifetime highlight to be at that game. And now Colorado's in the top 25. They've won basically every game. They've won basically every game from that point. And we absolutely dominated them offensively and defensively. And even even though we didn't score in the second half, if you remember, we scored 3 separate touchdowns that were called back as holding penalties. And there's a whole bunch of missed stuff there. That could have been 42-10. And it just wasn't. Sure. But that was an electric offense, an unbelievable defense. That team in that Colorado game, as well as this defense from this Ohio State game, literally wins out. They win out. Yeah. They win the next 4 games. No question in my mind that team does. But if this team that came to Indiana shows up, we don't win a single game. You go from 5-1 to 5-7. I mean, it's this that, and I think that Jekyll and Hyde thing going on of who's going to show up is crazy. We should win this game. We match up better with them. They're not a Big Ten team yet. They weren't very good last year. They're not that good this year. Who shows up?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that scares me is that if we put those 2 games on a spectrum, we shade closer to the Indiana game. Just as an overall body of work.
Probably.
Putting up 14 on Rutgers. You're
I think the defensive
Ohio State. The Purdue game, we got bailed out by a lot of bad calls, and then we put them away because they're Purdue and they stink. But I mean, even the Northern Illinois game or Iowa game, there were some red flags there too.
There's red flags all over the place. I would say
situational running not getting done, things like that against a team like UCLA, you just can't let them hang around. We are a better team. We have better talent. UCLA has not had a better recruiting class than us in the last 5 seasons. We have better talent. I think we have better coaches. I think we have a little bit more of an established culture. Obviously, it's going to help playing in Lincoln. We are favored, and we should win the game. But if you play anywhere near how we played against Indiana,
forget it. Forget it.
You're cooking yourself.
Yeah, it's almost like the defense. I feel like Rutgers was the most Nebraska game of the year. Maybe either Rutgers or Purdue. That to me is the truest identity of our team of Purdue, you just don't score the entire first half. It's completely frustrating.
Winning,
and the defense
winning in spite of yourselves.
Yeah, but because Indiana was an anomaly in the sense that like the defense never played that badly. Like you give up seven to Rutgers, 10 to Purdue, 7 to UTEP, 10 to Colorado, 3 to Northern Iowa. Like this is a good defense that just had a weird game. But at the same time, like Illinois and Indiana, both, if anybody watches film, you just watch those two games. And if you figure out the short crossing routes that both those guys figured out, we lose this game 35-10. Like, I don't know, it's like, did Chip Kelly not watch any film this week for Ohio State? I would have literally just run the Indiana play, like whatever they were doing over and over and over again, just run those. Yeah. And the fact that Chip Kelly couldn't draw anything up is crazy.
They're going to end up relying very much on Ethan Garber as their quarterback, and they're going to be airing it out. And that, should rightfully scare us a little bit because our secondary, like, man, those drives against Ohio State, even, like, I know he only completed 13 passes, 13 for 16, though, and 3 of them were touchdowns. Like, they were hyper efficient against our secondary. So if we let them get going through the air, and not to mention, like, if we let them get going, I mean, if they're putting up 35 on Rutgers, like, we are the 95th scoring offense in the country right now. 95th. 95th with 95th scoring offense with the 130th ranked touchdown percentage in the red zone. So getting into any semblance of a shootout is not going to work for us.
Our record, but why not? Like, why can't we just freaking? Oh my God!
Because this is just how numbers work, and this is just the trend of our team. Every time we give up more than 20 points in a conference game, we lose. Like, it's astounding. There was games that we win. We're always holding teams under 20 points, and 20 is not a big threshold. It really is not, but it just has been.
There were so many of those plays too that I don't
like. The longest time.
There's one play in particular that I'm thinking of. The Dowdell broke a run to the second level, and all he had to do was beat one free safety or cornerback, whoever it was. Sure. And the guy grabbed his shoelace. And we can't make one guy
just
miss.
One of those, yeah.
Ever. Right? All season, what's our longest play? We don't have any Trey Palmer 70-yard bombs. We don't have
all of our big plays. It seems like that is just the thing. Our explosive offense has kind of gone down the tubes in the last
nothing.
month. But the first 5 games, we had that, and that's why I think we can get back to that. I think we can keep beating Barney, and I think we can get back to getting Nayor the ball again. Those are your guys. It's just crazy to me that it seems like the schemes have not played out that way. I just have to look it up just so I can see again. Yeah, listen to Nayor's reception totals. 6 in game 1, 4 in game 2, 2, and then 4. Now listen to the next month. 1, 0, 2, 2. His receiving yard totals: 121 in game 1, 31 in game 2, 35 in game 3, 90 in game 4. All right, that's his first 4. Here's the last 4: 14, 0, 13, and 15 receiving yards.
Who's this, Banks or Nair?
Nair.
Yeah.
That is a combined 42 receiving yards in 4 games.
I mean, I don't get it. If they stink, then put Coleman in.
Get him the ball.
I mean, they're throwing to Banks. He just gets an offensive pass interference every time they throw at him. And because Banks had 3, they threw at him 5 or 6 times. He had 2 offensive pass interferences and 1 he dropped. So it's all right.
I just think we need a scheme, and we need an offensive coordinator that understands the personnel that we have. We need our rushing game to get going. Absolutely. It's unacceptable that it has been as bad as it has after it was the strength of our team last year. But that needs to be balancing what you want to do with Raiola. We don't have an identity otherwise. Your identity is you've got a stable of running backs that would love to have some holes opened up for them. And you've got a true freshman quarterback that happens to be the best true freshman that we've ever had. waiting to uncork one deep, but we needed an intermediate passing game. We need something to complement your running game and stuff in the meantime. And so UCLA, this is when you work on it. This is when you're making money here, Satterfield.
Can you go to slide 15 for the close? I'll be
okay on it.
So you can get back to that
On
thing. This is my closing thought.
Okay. That is a great thought. For those not viewing it, it says, what if we just win the rest of our games?
Have you thought about that, though? Have you thought about it?
Good idea. Have I? No, I haven't allowed myself to go there in a little bit.
All right. Well, that's all I think about is what if we just win the rest of our games? Then we would be 8-4. Wait, 9-3. 9-3. There it is. How many losses we have? 9-3. Pretty darn good.
Love that. Love that.
Only issue is we play Wisconsin and Iowa, 2 teams we haven't beat in 10 years, and UCLA, we should beat, in USC, who I don't really know what to do with them. They're 4-4, and they're kind of a mess, but they're also USC. So
good thoughts.
But yeah, so what their records are. Go back one more slide.
Okay.
There. So we're 5-3. If you truly look at the season, we're 5-3. We got 2 losses to top 10 teams. Indiana should be a top 10 team. They're like 11th or whatever. They're top 10, and they're probably gonna win 10 or 11 games, which is insane.
It is insane.
Ohio State's going to go to playoffs. So Indiana and Ohio State are both playoff teams. They're both going to go. We lost 2 of them. Illinois is still a top 20 team. That's 3 top 20 losses. Fine. Yeah, bad, stinks, not good. But it's better than like losing to, I don't know. We didn't lose to Northern Iowa. This schedule remaining: UCLA is 2-5, USC is 4-4, Wisconsin's 5-3. They just lost to Penn State, and Iowa's 5-3.
Yeah,
these are not. We're not playing. We're not playing Ohio State. We're not playing. Everyone's got 3 losses. We're not playing Ohio State. We're not playing Michigan. We're not playing Penn State.
Sure.
These are all teams that have at least what? So that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 losses of game film we can study. Find some weaknesses. Rule, make your money. And like. Get these guys going. Like that to me is like 5 losses. Who beat UCLA? Study every single one of those. Find every single weakness. Like we're talking about what UCLA can study against us. Like figure it out, right? Like that.
What do you truly think we're gonna go? If you're betting on underdog fantasy right now, use promo code HuskGuys.
I think we win 2 more and go 7-5, which I think at this point I'll be thrilled with. I think we're going to beat UCLA. God, and then now that I have to pick 2, because if we go think about the iterations of this, I think we're going to beat USC. Now I'm actually, you know what? I might be at 3. I don't think we're going to beat Wisconsin. I don't think we're going to beat Wisconsin.
Okay.
They went toe to toe with Penn State for 55 minutes and then lost in the last 5 minutes. I was like, I watched the whole game. This is not looking for us. Iowa stinks. And I think USC stinks. And I think UCLA stinks. All right, I'm back to 3. I just talked myself into it. Thanks for that. So back to 3. So now what is it? 8-4? 8-4.
Yeah, you'll take 8-4. I mean, my goodness.
I mean, at the end of I guess the reason I shied off of that too is if we beat UCLA and USC and then lose to Wisconsin, Iowa, we're gonna be miserable. It's gonna stink. But so you kind of have to beat UCLA and then lose and then beat Iowa or something. You can't lose Wisconsin, Iowa and finish the season. You just can't. The fan base will be just in shambles. Then we'll go play play Air Force in some bowl.
If you're gonna have a prayer against any of the last 3, you got to beat UCLA because the boys are going to be down bad if we lose to UCLA. I mean, they're going to be down bad. The vibes are going to be in the absolute gutter. And so we have to win this weekend. I won't even entertain the thought of a loss. I think that we do end up winning by 7. And I think it would, I don't even think 7.
We're going to win on a John Hole bomb.
Talk to me.
Hole's going to come in 54 yards at home.
54 at the buzzer. Bring it on. That's fine. 20-17, I think, is a realistic possibility there. USC, no idea what to do with that one. They can, on the one hand, lose to Maryland.
They
And
beat
then
LSU.
they were up by 8 on Rutgers in the second half, and then they exploded and they pummeled them. It's like 42-20 or whatever.
They beat LSU.
Wisconsin, they're hanging with good teams now. Wisconsin seems to be greatly improved. Iowa, I actually don't even know what to do with Iowa. I want to say that they stink. I'm pretty sure that McNamara stinks. I
They're
know
benching.
that.
They benched
Their
him.
running back is crazy. Caleb Johnson, he's about to break the Iowa record for most rushing touchdowns in a season. He's got 14. Got more than our entire team. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're a good rush defense, though.
Yeah. So I don't know what to do with the last three. I do know that this weekend is absolutely essential. I mean, essential. Like to get the monkey off your back, get the bowl game thing out of the way, and move on with our lives so we can start thinking about how 9-3 is going to feel.
Oof. I like it.
Feels good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess
right.
I've at least come out of the like. I feel like coming out of Indiana, everyone was pretty universally like, we're going 5-7, and now I've come out of that and like, this defense could win.
We needed to keep that game with Ohio State close. Like we needed that more than anything. We needed that.
It's back.
I mean, the vibes are returning.
They're still pretty bad. That's what
They're still
I
pretty
think.
bad because it was still a loss.
They're
But they're trending up. They're trending up.
It. Going all the way back to where we started, and we'll finish this thing. Is and I'm guilty of it too, and you're guilty of it too. We're all guilty of it. Like everybody expected us to be blown out and destroyed and obliterated, and half people even watching. And so, like, for the fact the comments to be like, I can't believe we still can't win a big game. I get it. I feel that too. I get it. I'm pissed about it too, because Ohio State had given up. They thought they lost. Like, we should have lost. All these things, but like, you can't. I don't know. You kind of can't have it both ways. Being like, it's like, oh, you can never win a big game. It's like you weren't even watching the game. So I don't know. You gotta we gotta flip the vibes a little bit and be like, all right, this team is moving in the right direction. Get these guys going. Beat UCLA, and then win the rest. All right, folks. Yeah. We got 1,200 folks here that have hung out. Check out huskguysstore.com. Go to pipeline-jerky.com and go to Underdog Fantasies app. Use promo code HuskGuys for 50% deposit match. Thanks for listening, and go Big Red as always.